It is now day 2 with the Hummer and has the allure worn off. Not yet, but it's because I just woke up and I haven't driven it yet. So we will see if this thing is still as much fun on the second day. Let's see how good the cold start is. Let the glow plug warm up, blink, blink, blink. Still blinking. All right, it's done. Should probably put my foot on the brake and be a responsible car driver so that car doesn't get smashed. Oh, the little key thing's spinning. I need to tighten that. All right, come on, little guy. What's going on here? Okay, 10 seconds into playing with this. The key is an aftermarket key because this is originally like a switch, but when you come from a military vehicle to a civilian vehicle, you probably need a key so everybody doesn't steal it. And then it has, this was the original anti-theft. You had a wire that came out and you just locked up the steering wheel so no one could drive it. But if anybody had bolt cutters, they could just come cut that. So that just goes right back under the dash. And now I'm gonna screw with this for a second and make this work, just a sec. Literally, I'm literally the worst YouTuber. I didn't show you much, but I just tightened this up as much as I could by hand. I'll go back and fix it later. See how the key kind of turns it if you kind of turn it hard? So I need a wrench on that, but I'm at the house right now, so I don't have one. So, glow plug blinks, it's ready to go. What am I doing wrong? Oh, it's in gear. Let's try this again. Perfect. It doesn't have a park, it just has a reverse. And I let somebody else drive it last night and they put it up in reverse, not neutral. So I just had to shift it to neutral. That stuff's really confusing though. You don't know what's up. One more hilarious thing about this vehicle, it's actually straight piped exhaust, but it's a naturally aspirated V8 diesel. And it is literally louder, just the engine, like piston noise and everything, and whatever is going on under there is louder than the exhaust. You can't even hear the exhaust. It's just like clackety old diesel. All right, let's go to lunch. So problem 1 is this little guy.
There you go.
That's not good.
Pink again.
That's on fire. Let me go pull the, I'm gonna have her jump off the battery so I can pull the battery. That's a lot of smoke. Okay, it no longer has power. So it should go out pretty quickly. I have a fire extinguisher down there just in case.
Yeah, I'll get it ready.
That's pretty entertaining. I wonder what that was all about. So that's the control panel for the lights. Oh, that doesn't have an infrared light there. There's nothing there. Just a spot for one. All right. That was very interesting. So now I'll just disconnect this, I suppose. Figure out how it plugs in here and then delete that. What?
Feels like wiring.
Yeah, it just melted a light panel here. Yeah, you know your smells well. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so now we're just doing first I burned myself touching this connector. And now this is the connector behind it. I'm just gonna undo it so I don't have any lights or anything. And so it doesn't keep burning. I was told these connectors are really crappy too. Not the connectors, but these panels, and they destroy themselves. This might be the fun part of owning a Humvee where everything just breaks constantly because it's built by government contractors. What's amazing is government contractors, I mean, it makes sense, but they build stuff way shittier than you would think. You'd always think that like military quality stuff would be really high quality, but it's not. It's kind of the opposite. Giant super hot connector is off. Can't tell if there's any damage or if it melted. It looks like it's okay. This guy is completely toast. I think I lost some fingerprints. I touched something that was really hot. There we go. Let's see if it still starts up. Oh wait, we have to put the battery back on. This will be a total of 5 minutes if this works, or less, maybe 3 minutes. Let's see. Back on. I'll put that back in a minute. Let's make sure it doesn't blow up. We have a new friend. Hello.
Hi.
He stopped by. He knows a lot more about wiring than I do. All right, let's make sure it's in neutral. Still smells like fire. No longer any power there, so it can't burn. But now I have no running lights. But it doesn't go that fast. I don't think anybody's gonna hit us, so we'll be okay. All right, let's put the battery back. Battery's back. Let's put the seat back. Your chariot awaits. All right. Thanks, man. You have a good day. So we had the, whatchamacallit, the light switch panel blow out and catch on fire on the highway today when Sarah and I were going to lunch. And I got a big box of stuff and some other things indoors and toolboxes and stuff and bags with the Hummer or Humvee or whatever you call it. And we're looking through it, and I didn't realize, because I didn't look through any of this stuff when we got it, the car came with LED taillights and I don't know about headlights, but all kinds of light kits, which is really cool. And I was just looking online, and these light kits are like $800, which is kind of crazy. And glow plugs, that's probably a license plate light. More lights. More lights. This was really cool. It's an infrared spotlight, I would assume. I can't think of anything else this thing would be. That looks like it's some type of light that's pointed down. That's probably goes on the hood. I don't know what all this stuff does. I'd have to look it up and research it. But all this stuff looks brand new. But what we really need is we need to find these little switches, because they're probably too hard to do by hand. So I need to find the switches in here. And I have a turbo manifold, and I have a turbo as well. So it'd be really fun to turbo this thing. It's like Christmas. Oh wait, it's another manifold. It's another turbo manifold. This thing might end up getting turbo faster than I think. That means I have like half a turbo kit here, because I have a turbo as well. You can't let this stuff get too thrown around the shop, or else it's all gonna get lost. But we actually have a whole turbo here as well. So if we have both manifolds, we have actually like, and if this is the correct turbo to go to that, which it looks like it is, we have like half of a turbo kit here, and kind of some of the expensive parts too. So that's really exciting. The only problem is, that means I might actually end up turboing it, and if I didn't have those parts, I wouldn't do it. So we'll see. So we still need these levers though. All right, let's keep looking.
What is this thing?
That is a gas can or water can, whatever you want to put in it. And this is a pressurized hazmat water can, because it has this right there is to hook up an air line and to pressurize it after it's full. And then that's another one, so you can spray like people off and decontaminate them, I was told. Everything I'm just like figuring out as I go. Great success. We found the switches in a box in the bottom of the thing. So now all I have to do is figure out how to attach them, which should be pretty easy, I hope. And then it's a mil-spec harness, so that screws on there, and then hopefully the thing won't catch on fire anymore. I hope. Now my plan is just to swap these out, one for the other. The connector appears the same. Hopefully everything is the same in the back and I don't have to rewire it. And this little guy is just gonna go in the trash. It's just some Phillips. Okay, now I'm connecting the new one. This is what everybody always brags about, being a mil-spec thing online in their race cars. And it is in a cheap Humvee that everyone bitches about being crappy. All right, when having awful wiring, which obviously just caught on fire. And there we are. It took, the lights are just dim, but they're on. it took us approximately 3 minutes to disconnect the thing, and then we just drove and ate lunch. And then it took us approximately 10 minutes to find the part. And I was actually about to order it online. And then I was like, wait a second, I bet I can figure this out. And then it took about 10 minutes to install. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, just so everybody doesn't think I'm misleading them. So it was a pretty easy fix. Everything seems to work. The panel's kind of neat. Supposedly all these panels are pretty junky though, the digital ones included. So service drive is what you actually drive in, which has the blinkers and all that stuff. And I don't know what all the other things do, but you unlock it like that. So it can't be bumped in combat and take you out of like a blackout mode and then turn your headlights on accident. So you have to like try and turn the lights on in this thing. And then they have different types of marker modes. I don't know what those are, but I'm sure there's some type of like all dark at night battle mode or something. And I don't know what these do. So I keep identifying things that I'm trying to fix with this Humvee. And first of all, I thought that because the dash told me, it says on here, do not go over 60 basically, that you're not supposed to go over 60. And then I was watching a YouTube video and they're just like, oh yeah, we drive these things at 70 all the time with the naturally aspirated 6.2 and the 3-speed transmission. So I was thinking, oh, I should get a 4-speed transmission. I'm putting 40s on it to change the gearing, all these different things. I didn't think about just really going faster, which sounds silly, but as long as the fan doesn't come on, because the fan saps so much heat, you can actually cruise pretty comfortably at 65 to 70. The thing does not feel squirrely, it doesn't feel unsafe or anything like that. It just feels like you're running a lot of RPM on the motor. But I have a straight pipe diesel and stuff, and I can't really tell what's going on. And the motors are like $800, so I'm not really worried about it that much. So the big deal though is as soon as the fan comes on, it takes like 30% of the power, it feels like, from the engine. So I've been trying to diagnose how to make it run a little bit cooler. It's really hot in Texas right now. It's like in 95 or something like that. So just driving it when it's not almost 100 degrees outside would probably maybe fix a lot of it. I read online that when people rhino line stuff, which this is not even rhino line. I don't know what this is. They cover the grills, but this one doesn't seem to have done that. But I have found that it's very dirty in between the radiator and the transmission cooler. So before I detach the transmission cooler and pull it off, I was gonna come to the car wash and just try and shove a bunch of water into there, see if I can clear out a bunch of the debris. And if that doesn't work and it doesn't like calm down the cooling, I'm gonna do that. I looked at installing different thermostats, like a lower, like 160, 170, 180 or whatever they are. And some people said that actually makes the fan come on more, which sounds counterproductive or counterintuitive and stuff. But I will see what I can do. And it appears that the fan is powered off of some type of power steering fluid or something. So it's like a hydro fan, so it's kind of weird. Cool, okay. I am gonna get to this and then I guess go test it. I don't know. And my 40s, and I have some really cool wheels coming in, should be here soon so I can start making it look cool. I'm so bad at YouTubing. I just sprayed off the radiator and the transmission cooler, which are directly underneath this in a cool V-mount setup. Well, I guess just a laying down setup, there's not a V. And sprayed between them and got as many leaves and everything out as possible. So that's my plan A. I don't know what plan B is to make this thing not run a little warm, other than wait for the weather to cool down. Oh, and just to be clear, it's not actually overheating or anything. It's just the fan coming on, which every modern car, every car has a fan come on. And the fan comes on at 200 degrees, and that's where all the power gets robbed. So I could actually not even deal with a turbo kit or anything on this thing if I could just deal with the fan not coming on. Pretty simple problems, but still problems. I know of a little loading dock right down the street. My windshield wiper's broken and I have to move it. It's the rod is disconnected from the windshield wiper mechanism. But oh look, a rock crawler on a trailer. That's cool. Oh, and I can figure out the mileage too. But because that's where I fill up. So we're driving right down here. I can shift in overdrive. And we're gonna go to our loading dock and test suspension flex. This windshield wiper is gonna drive me nuts. As soon as I push it, it goes right back. All right. So what we do, it'll probably be easier over there. It'll be easier over here too. I'm still such a bad YouTube host. All right, so this is the sway bar. It's a bar that connects right there and then has an end link which comes up there, down to there, and attaches the control arm. And what it does is, whenever this tire presses up, it moves the force across over to that one and has an opposing force. And what that does is it makes the car handle better by making it handle flatter on the street, making it safer. But off-road, that means that wheel is connected to that wheel, and even though it's independent suspension, that arm moves differently. A truck like my Jeep or something has solid axles where the wheel is connected directly to that wheel by a big tube, basically, with a diff and axles and stuff inside of it. This should be able to move independently as freely as it can, and same with that one without affecting each other. But with the sway bar right now, it's great for on-road use, but it limits the amount of suspension flex. So we're gonna disconnect that real quick. There you can see that tire's off the ground, and then get going. Okay, underneath the vehicle. I've kind of cheated a tiny bit. I see that there. Yep, okay. I've cheated a tiny bit. I've already loosened this at the shop, and I just have to pop this off. I've gone to flat ground again to make it as easy as possible to get this end link off, because if this end link has bind in it, it's not gonna wanna come out. There was a tiny bit of bind to alleviate there, but now we are now disconnected. So even though all the bar and everything is still connected for the most part, all I have to do is drag that back, and now we are no longer connected between the two, and they should be able to, when that one moves, it'll just move independent of this one and everything. Ooh, you can see the bar better this way. Now, this should alleviate some of the bind in the suspension and create more flex. Let's see if it works. So I'm not sure if we've made it any farther yet. We're about to go check it out and measure again. Oh, I'm gonna fall down. I hope we've at least got a few more inches. That's what she said. All right, let's see here. We have gotten about 2 inches. That's kind of what I thought it was gonna be. 2 inches more flex. Completely non-scientific. I think that's the exact same height I stopped at before. So we've alleviated, or gotten, however you want to say it, 2 inches of suspension travel out of the thing. That's about 2 inches in the front, 0 in the back, because I don't believe there's a sway bar back there. That is not a lot. Now the next thing I can do to get a bit more flex is less air pressure in the tires. Once I go to 40-inch tires, they'll have taller sidewalls. And the real thing to do is, the really real thing to do would be to do different lower control arms and upper control arms and make these longer, and also go to softer spring rates in here. These spring rates, or not the spring rates, but I guess the spring rates too. The springs are absolutely huge. And I'm not even binding them all the way or anything like that. They're just so stiff, they don't allow it. So if we could probably get another inch out of this or something like that if we had much softer spring rates. And then maybe that one would come up more and we would get, I don't know, maybe a few more inches out of all of it. If we could get 1 inch more travel out of the front and back, we would end up with about 19 inches of travel probably. This is completely unscientific. I have no idea. But it would work better off-road. So, luckily though, and the problem is when you're off-road, once one tire lifts, you then are teeter-tottering, and without differentials like locking diffs or LSDs, you are kind of stuck and you can't make forward momentum with tires turning or traction or whatever you want to call it. So it's important to be able to have your tires on the ground at all times. So that's why a lot of suspension flex is great. All right, I think that's all we're gonna accomplish right now. And I did find some softer spring rates, but they are literally, I'm not sure of the exact spring rates either, because this is the lightest configuration Humvee, and going to softer spring rates could mean that the other people were just considering you had like some, you know, $8,000 Hummer and you were gonna go to these springs, which would be very unfortunate. I'm hoping that they're actually softer spring rates than these spring rates. I don't even wanna say the spring rate because it sounds ridiculous. I'm not even gonna say it. And I do have some coil spring spacers up there, and it does look like I'm gonna have conflict with the fenders and everything with the 40s until I put those coil spring spacers on it. Okay, I think that's that. We have learned how much suspension travel the Hummer has, and now all we can do is like start modifying it more. All right, watch this. So this tire, with me not on the brake, I need to be in drive. Whoops. Is just gonna spin, and I'm not gonna move forward because it's spinning and it's torsion diff. But if I apply a light amount of brake pressure with a little bit of gas, the vehicle is gonna smoothly move forward. Uh-oh, I'm gonna fall off again. One sec. Let me turn the steering wheel so I don't fall off. See how I'm almost off? All right, it's moving because that's only gas. Now with a little bit of brake pressure, I just drive straight forward. All right, I'm gonna get about nothing done in this video just to warn you, but it kind of talks about the thought process of what's going on. So I'm taking this Humvee up to Colorado and I have to make it livable for a girlfriend and 2 friends in the back. So I have a seatbelt kit that, oh man, I didn't bring it out here. So the seats are down here and underneath here. There's 2 seats in the back. I have a seatbelt kit that hooks up here and over there to make this thing more comfortable, because these seats are not great, obviously. The back seats look like this too. They're just like folding chairs with little cushions on them, basically. Let's see here if I can light this up properly. I grabbed I'm scratching my own vehicle. I got this suspension seat. It's a really cheap Corbeau. It was like 199 bucks. I'm measuring it to make sure there's space and everything right now. I got my little tape measure out, measuring it and figuring out how I'm gonna make seat rails for it. So if you look at this seat, what makes this usable for me, I think, is it's what's called a suspension seat. So it's kind of like, I guess it's described like a hammock or something. You sit in it, and I always thought these things had some type of fancy suspension or something in them, because I've seen 18-wheelers where the brackets themselves are like on a little suspension thing with shocks and stuff, because the cabs flop up and down. But I was under the wrong like interpretation of what that meant. It's just these straps, so you're not sitting on a hard surface like in a normal chair. You're actually suspended so that if you hit a bump really hard, you'll come down and move, and there's some give. And this is the suspension, is these bands, and I suppose those, and just the material itself. So I'm hoping this seat makes the whole thing more livable, and if it does, I'm gonna put one on the second side as well. And then I'm just measuring for the 40-inch tires. I ordered wheels tonight, finally. I'd been putting that off, which kind of sucks because we only have about, oh my God, is it 10 days until we leave? No, it might be 12. So we don't have much time. So they're being shipped in. I was trying to get the offsets correct. I wanted to have them stick out like an inch or 2 more to protect the body, because I came off a ledge the other night and I scraped up the body. That's perfectly fine, it's not even dented. But that would not happen with my rock crawler, because as you look, the wheels don't stick out the body. And I typically like that, so you don't have to deal with the body getting jacked up as much. And that's gonna be a really big problem with this thing because it's so wide. However, this thing is not nearly as wide as as big as you would think, especially since this is my eye line and I can see over it. It's not nearly as big as you'd think. It always looks big in video and picture somehow though. All right, and what else do I need to do? I need to figure out a winch. I'm gonna mount the winch, I think, right in here. So I'm going to need to figure out a mounting solution, and I am probably going to use some of these bolts right here, make a winch plate that comes across, then comes up and attaches there, and then I'm gonna cut out a bunch of this here and have it poke out right here and maybe put a fair lead or something. And I was watching this Humvee that climbed up a wall, and I found a video of how they actually did it. They actually shortened the whole front of the vehicle and cut the hood back, and it was really interesting. So now I don't think that's gonna work unless I have really big tires. And they actually cut the whole Humvee back up to this point because there's nothing really out here. Oh, there is a coolant hose. That's really old. Oh, that's scary. Oh God. Is that really a coolant hose? That thing's about to break. Or maybe just the... That is scary touching that thing. Sorry, I'm not showing things well. Don't need to mess with that. I would like to put one real locker in it, but it'd be kind of fun to like test it out without that. What else do I need to do? I got the lights all working. I got all that sorted out. I got this thing mounted up. I left one bolt hole out because just like a drifter, that one is really hard to get to in the back compared to the other three, and 3 is enough. Yeah, so tonight is just lining things up, measuring, and then I will figure it out later. Sorry that was so boring. I apologize for being boring tonight, but sometimes working on the vehicle is boring, like putting on the belts I need to put on, doing an oil change. You know, you guys really don't want to watch that. But once I get to mounting the seat and mounting the tires and mounting all that stuff, it should be more interesting. And the winch. And I'm gonna do a grounding kit. Oh, something really interesting as well. Okay, this is actually kind of interesting and cool. One of the problems with the Humvee I'm having is, and it's not really a problem, I want more power, which I think probably every Humvee person wants. And you can turbo it, but before you get to that point, probably the biggest problem is the fan sucks like 30% of the power out of the dang thing. So when the fan comes on, when the thing hits 200 degrees, the fan comes on and the clutch fan literally takes 25% of the power out of the vehicle. I'm not even exaggerating. You'll be going 65, the fan will come on, you'll just slow down to 55. It's obscene how much power the fan takes. And they make cooling kits that just are like steam pipe kind of things in LS1s and stuff to equalize the temperature between the front and the back of the heads and the motor. So hopefully with that, they say the fan doesn't come on nearly as much. And if I can just get that to work, that will really help things out and I won't have to turbo it so soon. Maybe it'll even work better in Colorado, but maybe it'll work better up there because the temperature will be cooler. It's been over 95 probably every day I drive this thing. So it gets up to 200 really fast. What else? I think that's the main stuff I need to deal with. Before I left the shop, I was checking all the fluids in the vehicle and hose condition and all that stuff. And I thought this was kind of cool. This is the air filter. It is not only massive and like 10 pounds heavy, really big air filter. It has a tiny handle on it. This is where it goes. Oh, I didn't inspect in here yet. Let's see what this looks like. Interesting. I'm trying to... There we go. So it goes up there, through there. That looks pretty direct, and that's a really nice thing. However, it has to go through the snorkel apparatus somehow, which I'm suspecting, yeah, there's a false lip right there. How can I hold this? This is a false lip, and my hand goes beneath it right here. So the air has to come in here, whoosh, turn like 2 or 3 times, I think, and then turn there and go through. It's not as bad of a design as I was thinking. It's watertight and everything, but it probably isn't ideal. I don't know if it will really gain much power though, because that is a humongous filter and it looks like there's a lot of airflow through there. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, put it back together. One more note, everything on this thing is aluminum, which is really cool. So this is all aluminum. The whole canister appears to be aluminum. This is aluminum. Yeah, okay. And obviously the whole chassis is aluminum. So very cool. And that's what the air filter looks like reassembled. Mostly reassembled. I have one more piece somewhere. Oh, that piece right there. Now it's fully assembled for the air filter box. It's weird, some people say these things are super shitty, and I can see it, how they're super shitty in some ways. I mean, they are developed in the 80s and 70s, probably developed in the 70s or early 80s, but the vehicles have a lot of cool things like going on as well because of the all aluminum construction. They ride terribly, but everything is super, super heavily doodly built. I'm looking for softer spring rates right now. I want like a freaking like 30% softer spring there. I'm gonna probably delete this sway bar and try and make the thing a bit softer up here and also flex better, because these things have like no suspension travel. Here's the axle shaft and the portal box. This is like my favorite part of the vehicle, is the portal box. Dropping the center line of the wheeled axle like 5 inches, and they have tons of ground clearance. With 40s, this thing is gonna be able to roll over this stool. With the stock tires, it can almost roll over that stool, which is crazy.